Son nom évoque à lui seul les plus célèbres héros de films d'action de l'histoire du cinéma. Il a créé deux des personnages les plus connus du grand écran.
It's never gonna be a dull moment.
Et a choisi de rempiler pour les suites de leurs aventures. Il joue les durs au cinéma, mais c'est un type sensible.
Comes so natural.
Si vous le prenez pour un idiot,
Right?
vous le sous-estimez.
Not really, but we're still on the drawing board.
Sylvester Stallone est une icône américaine
Oh yeah.
et une superstar connue dans le monde entier.
I can retire next week. Thank God.
Le 6 juillet 1946, 10 mois après la fin de la Seconde Guerre mondiale, Frank et Jackie Stallone donnent naissance à leur premier fils, Sylvester Gardenzio.
There was drama surrounding Sylvester Stallone from the very beginning. When he was being born, doctors using forceps accidentally severed a nerve, and this caused a slight paralysis, which resulted in the slurred speech and the sort of droopy lip that Sylvester is known for. If Sylvester's mother Jackie had had her way, we would now know Tyrone Stallone. That's what she wanted to name Sylvester, after her favorite actor Tyrone Power. But after Sylvester was born, his father secretly changed the name on the birth certificate.
Yeah, this is Sylvester Stallone.
As a kid, Sylvester Stallone was a bit of a troublemaker. He was actually expelled from 14 schools before the age of 13. And when he was in junior high, his classmates voted him the person most likely to be killed in the electric chair. That's not very nice. Sylvester's father, Frank, made his living as a hairdresser. The family owned a chain of salons, and Sylvester nearly went into the family business. He went to beauty school for a while, but he dropped out when he got a scholarship to the American College in Switzerland. It's there that he started doing school plays, and he really fell in love with acting.
Stallone fait ses premières apparitions en tant que figurant dans des films acclamés comme Clute, Bananas de Woody Allen et Le prisonnier de la Seconde Avenue avec Jack Lemmon.
His first starring role was not quite so respectable. It was a softcore porn movie called The Party at Kitty and Studs. After he became famous from Rocky, the film was re-released with a new title, The Italian Stallion, in order to take advantage of his new fame. In 1974, Sylvester married his first wife, Sasha Zack, and they had two sons together, Sage and Sergio. The story behind Sylvester's breakout film Rocky is now legendary. He was inspired to write the movie after seeing the Muhammad Ali-Chuck Wepner fight in 1975, and he wrote the first draft in 3 days.
The first movie, 76. It was a little movie, but it was written like a masterpiece. It was 98 pages of street prose.
Though he was nobody at the time, producers really wanted that script, and they kept offering him more and more money, but he wouldn't sell it unless he was allowed to play Rocky.
To me, it was like a modern miracle in this industry, because if I tried to do it today, it never happened.
And they finally made a deal. He got $350,000, and he got the part of a lifetime.
I never thought it would ever end up being a legacy, but I guess what has come out of it is that it's a pretty universal dream to try to rise up and take your best shot at life.
Nothing is impossible with Stallone involved.
With the Rocky movies, Sylvester often explored themes that were going on in his own life.
All right, let's go.
And in Rocky II, for example, he used the idea of yesterday's heroes being quickly forgotten because that's something he could relate to from his acting career. After the first Rocky was a huge success, he made Fist and Paradise Alley, but nobody went to see them. So with Rocky II, he wanted to write about the fleeting nature of fame, and he had plenty to draw from his own life.
Après Rocky III, Stallone incarne un autre personnage qui deviendra lui aussi une icône.
Rambo is a man who started out as a very flag-waving patriotic guy, was eventually scorned by the country, and now he's trying to get back his own dignity.
First Blood was Sylvester's first movie that wasn't a Rocky film to actually hit.
I hope to establish a character that can represent a certain section of the American consciousness and through the entertainment also be educational.
Originally, he hated the first cut of the movie. In fact, he wanted to buy the film back back and destroy it. And when the producers wouldn't go for that, he suggested that they cut his part way down and let the other characters tell the story. And that actually ended up being what showed in theaters, and it was a monster hit.
Rambo is the spokesman for the man whose voice right now isn't loud enough.
In 1984, Sylvester Stallone received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and alongside him was Dolly Parton. They had just come out in a movie together called Rhinestone. Unfortunately, it was a box office bomb, and he later joked that it was as though everyone on the movie came together and decided they were going to try to ruin their careers.
When you take a chance, you get your head cut off. When you don't take a chance, you get your head handed to you. So either way, you're caught in the middle.
Two of the movies he turned down to make it were Romancing the Stone and Beverly Hills Cop. Ouch.
Does you see the problem? That's the irony.
Stallone n'aime pas l'échec. Il retrouve une de ses valeurs sûres.
Rambo is kind of a super soldier, but more than being just a man, he represents the entire fighting force. He's kind of a character that's bigger than life.
The screenplay for Rambo First Blood Part 2 was actually written by James Cameron, who went on to massive success with Titanic, among other things. Well, he says the script was changed substantially from his draft and made much more political after the fact. So his quote was, "I did the action, Sly did the politics."
I love the writing. The writing is the most exasperating, exhilarating experience.
I think the man is nuts because he's given himself things to do in this picture that nobody should ask of themselves. And he does them.
I thought the first one was difficult, but the first one was almost Alice in Wonderland compared to this place. I trained harder than I had trained for Rocky. It's a very exhausting day that we put in here, but one well worth it. The physical aspects of it was about 8 months of training, 4 hours a day. This is the toughest physical film I've ever been involved with.
When we first started the show, he called me over to show me how good he was with it, and I just thought, well, let's see what he can do, and he was damn good.
Yeah! In the movie, we take shots as far away as 185, 190 feet.
Au-delà de sa préparation physique, les moments les plus mémorables sur le plateau sont le mélange de scènes d'action et d'effets spéciaux pour l'acteur.
It's something that is that hard to coordinate. The exploding, the firing, the shooting, the acting, the atmosphere, everything. And it all comes together in one fluid movement is, well, just about the ultimate high.
Stallone porte plusieurs casquettes sur le tournage, mais trouve le temps de passer des moments avec un jeune fan qui a une maladie incurable.
The doctors have given him 3 months. He had seen Rambo, the First Blood movie, over 220 times. He had taken Rambo, the character I play, his life, his need to survive, he had taken that credo onto himself, and he said he wanted to live by that code. I was really moved by his strength. I mean, it was humbling that this boy knows that most likely he will have to face this inevitable fate, and yet he does it with no remorse.
À suivre, Stallone retrouve un personnage connu et tente une expérience complètement nouvelle.
It's good entertainment. Good entertainment.
Quand Stallone incarne à nouveau son personnage de Rocky pour la 4e fois en 1985, il suit encore un entraînement implacable, cette fois dans la neige.
See, we train like bodybuilders and boxers. Sylvester spent about 5 months of really hard training, like twice a day, you know, boxing and doing weights, all to prepare for this 20-minute segment. We were training much harder than real fighters because when you're a real fighter, you only have to be good. You don't have to look great.
Okay, drop!
To the performers, it's more of a dance, physically. But mentally, it's still a fight.
In all of his action movies over the years, Stallone has taken his share of beatings. In fact, on Rocky IV, his co-star Dolph Lundgren hit him so hard that it caused swelling around his heart, and he had to be hospitalized for 4 days. In 1985, Sylvester married actress and model Bridget Nielsen, and they were quite a striking couple together physically. She was a good deal taller than him, though, which may help explain why the marriage only lasted 2 years.
Après avoir retrouvé Rambo pour une troisième fois en 1989, Stallone s'essaie à un nouveau genre dans Haute Sécurité, un drame austère dont l'action se situe dans une prison à haute sécurité. Pour garder le côté authentique, l'acteur insiste pour tourner dans une véritable prison.
The audience can sense reality. They've seen it all. There's very little that can shock an audience anymore. So I said, let's pick one of the most infamous prisons in the United States, perhaps the world, and that's Rahway. We went in there and people were laying bets that we wouldn't last but a few days because, you know, there's some desperate characters in there. You have almost 2,500 men and we had maybe 30 guards, unarmed. And you just pray that goodwill abounds, and it did. The football game got rough. There were some hits in there that are worthy of the NFL. I almost broke my leg in this one hit. How's that? It was an incredible smack. Going, oh, Jesus. Either I have walnuts in my pocket or my knee just went, you know, just go rack.
Wait, sorry. It's good.
He's a normal, hardworking man who, early in his life, made a mistake, and that mistake cost him dearly. He's not a Superman. He's a man under the influence of an evil force, which is the warden, and he's in a survival technique. I mean, he's fighting for his life. And that's really what it's about. It's a case of survival under all conditions.
En 1990, Stallone tourne Rocky V. C'est l'occasion pour lui de jouer avec son fils, Sage.
Goodness gracious, where'd this come from? It's a strange place to stash your lunch money, you know. I have to say that there are moments when I was holding my breath because he could go over the top or under the top, whatever, if he didn't hit that mark just right, that moment.
I was born during Rocky I, and I remember when I watched the movie and when I saw him acting, I thought it was real. I thought it was real, like when I saw him getting beat up in the ring, I'm like, no, Daddy, right? And he's getting beat up in the ring, I'm going, no!
He was very, very true, so I'm quite proud of him.
Yo, Adrian! I don't know.
Stallone's movie Cliffhanger is actually in the Guinness Book of World Records because it has the most expensive aerial stunt ever filmed, and the insurance company didn't want to underwrite it, so Stallone reduced his own fees so that it could be included in the budget, and it paid off. It is a really spectacular sequence.
I haven't been this excited about a film for a long, long time. It was an experimental film. Rennie Harlan put together what I think is this e-ticket ride.
There are a lot of people in this world who claim they do their own stunts. Sylvester Stallone does his own stunts.
Oh, this is a great adventure. This is just pure excitement.
He wanted to do the climbing. He wanted to hang off the mountain's edge.
We tore through the envelope, man. We went through the entire post office up there.
He wanted to do it without the safety ropes to make it as dangerous and realistic looking as possible.
It's really been a tough but wonderful experience. Hal's a good climber. Man against an element. I've done that theme a few times with with Rambo, but this is like Rockbo, man. This is.
La même année, Stallone fait une incursion dans le futur en tant que policier dans Demolition Man.
He is a cop who will go to any devices to get his prey.
Ils partagent l'affiche avec Wesley Snipes et leur énergie est évidente devant et derrière la caméra.
Sly, you like that one?
Whatever they do is great. I mean, whenever they're on screen, whether they're on screen together or separately, they're fantastic. So I couldn't be happier.
It was like, you know, the two brothers that I never had that my mother thanks God that we never did.
Well, with my character, it was a whole bunch of that. All the time, it was like that.
We had a really good time. We had a wonderful time.
I like the woman's part in it. I thought that here's a chance to have some fun with comedy, but not get too broad.
Working with Sly, he was very enthusiastic, like a teenager almost, in terms of how much energy he put into this.
Futuristic. I never had done a futuristic film.
Sylvester Stallone is often pitted against Arnold Schwarzenegger at the box office.
I think there's definitely a unwritten competition. There's no question about it. And when people are always writing Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, they set it up.
The two are actually good friends and even went into business together in the Planet Hollywood franchise. And they actually always put little jokes about each other in their movies. For example, in Demolition Man, there is a reference in the script to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Presidential Library. And this was long before he was the Governator.
En 1994, il tourne dans L'Expert, un film d'action où il joue un personnage éloigné de ceux qui l'interprètent d'habitude.
He's not a Superman, he's just a regular guy who does extraordinarily dangerous things.
In terms of what he's giving us, I think that the audiences are going to be really surprised to see a different side of him.
There's a lot of drama in it, and it has a whole different intelligent side that has been sorely lacking in some of my films.
Sly is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life, and certainly one of the quickest. He is just lightning quick with a response, and he makes me laugh. All I ever do is laugh when I'm around him.
For the love scene with Sly, I expected to come in, get in that shower, and have him throw me up against one wall and spin me around, throw me up against the other wall, and pick me up a couple times like this.
It was extremely sensual.
He was the most tender, chivalrous, gentle, gentleman, lovely person I have ever worked with under those circumstances.
I don't think anyone's really comfortable because you have an audience, unless you're just a raging exhibitionist.
Sly has absolutely no inhibition about being naked. He's so carefree about being naked that I'm like, ah!
What do you want to tell you?
From the very first moment, they hit it off, and it was fantastic just to let the camera roll and see these two human beings giving us so much warmth and passion and sexuality.
This is a love scene really about two people loving each other, which I saw on the big screen a few days ago. And it's the most beautiful love scene I've ever seen. It's something I don't think that people expect from Sly nor from me.
This is an erotic layer cake here, this one. See you at the bakery.
À suivre, Stallone refonde une famille et est accueilli en héros.
In 1995, Sylvester came out in the comic book adaptation Judge Dredd.
I would say unequivocally, this is the largest scaled film I've ever done.
This character is really a superhero, and I think Sly sort of is a superhero in real life.
Judge Dredd is a perfect law machine. He is a walking judicial system.
Justice. War is hell, and hell is home to Dredd. Do you know what I mean? He's the field marshal of chaos. And Sly very much understood that.
I have been very fond of him. He's a very unique, very, very unique individual in our time. No! I think he has tremendous energy as a man, as an actor, and it's fun to actually work with him and to play off of him.
You're a lot of fun to be with, Dredd, you know that?
He came in, the first day he fell down a flight of steps and said, "Welcome to the world of action."
As soon as I fell on my face, Stallone told me what it was, and he said,
you know, they say comedy's hard.
Well, you know, people say that comedy is tough, and I keep telling them that adventure thrillers have their own particular brand of danger.
Action pictures are hard.
And he's absolutely right.
Dad, look out!
When he says, "I am the law," he means it.
It was a big flop, and looking back, he says they may have taken themselves too seriously. We shouldn't have tried to make it Hamlet. It was more Hamlet and eggs.
En 1995, Stallone se sert de Planète Hollywood pour promouvoir un de ses films.
As usual at Planet Hollywood, we try to stay up to date with all the memorabilia, and this is the latest offering from a film I just completed with Antonio Banderas called Assassins. And this is a hand cast, and inside you can see a little pistol. And this is the gun that was used to get me to the set on time every day. This will be on the wall. Assassins comes out October 6th, and I hope you all enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. It actually has been the best review ever since Rocky, so thank you very much.
Sylvester's third wife is Jennifer Flavin, and they got married in 1997.
Yes.
But they had a bit of a rocky relationship up until then.
Well,
in 1994, Sylvester actually broke up with her via a letter he sent FedEx. They got together a year later, though, and ended up getting married, and now they have 3 beautiful daughters together. In 1997, Sylvester took a huge pay cut to make the movie Copland. He only got paid $60,000 for the role, after getting multi-millions for all his other movies.
I think one of his greatest achievements is when he did Copland. Loved what he did in Copland.
But he really wanted to challenge himself creatively.
The fact that he took that chance and played, you know, like a Jackie Gleason type character was wonderful.
He played against type. He kind of played an overweight cop in this kind of gritty drama, and the reviews were great, and he actually won a Best Actor award at the Stockholm Film Festival.
I admire him as an actor.
Sylvester Stallone hasn't done a lot of family-friendly movies, but in 2003 he made one, Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
it's a new version of 3D. It isn't the same 3D that I grew up on. I'm playing the 4 or 5 characters, so I'm talking to my dictatorial self, my clever self, my ambitious self, my not too bright self, which is who you're talking to right now.
The reason he said he did it was that his young daughters were big fans of the first 2 films, and they were real excited about the idea of seeing their dad interacting with the Spy Kids.
It's a real morality play. I mean, you'll come away going, you know, I know it seems like a children's film, but how come I feel enlightened?
When it was announced that Sylvester Stallone was going to do another Rocky movie, Rocky Balboa, there was a lot of negative reaction in the press. People were teasing him about being on Geritol.
Yeah, we gotta forget this punch in the face. It's getting old. George Foreman gives Rocky a great credibility. So does Larry Holmes, who's 53, 54, fighting. They believe that Sonny Liston was almost 50 years old and fought Muhammad Ali.
Sylvester felt like it was important that he say that life isn't over at 50, and that was one of the messages of the movie.
But the point is, when you're young at heart, you're basically in the game.
Every day I'm more impressed. The boxing, the physical. He's boxing with a champ of the world. And they're really moving. And then, even more important, he brings the young athlete's sensitivity to the surface.
He knows exactly what he wants, and he's got great stamina, and he'll put people in different places to accomplish everything that he's looking for and that what he's going to need in the editing room. As an actor, it's hard not to be intimidated or overwhelmed by that, but he's terribly kind with his time.
I don't know where I'm going with this, but it feels good. Here we are on the steps of the Philadelphia Museum, which was probably the most famous shot in the first film. And it's funny that we've, 30 years later, back here, on an emotional level, it hasn't sunk in yet. This is like the last time I'll ever be wearing these clothes, last time the Rocky hat, last time on the steps.
Pourtant, il refoulera ses marches peu après, quand la ville de Philadelphie lui décernera un honneur réservé au père fondateur.
This leaves me absolutely even more speechless. Inside of every one of you lives a real Rocky. Rocky and I, thank you. I want audiences to take out a full-body feeling that they experienced in the first one, hopefully, is that you cannot listen to anything other than your heart.
And when the film came out, it was actually a box office success, and it got pretty good reviews as well.
Yo, Philly! How you doing?
In 2008, Sylvester came out with another Rambo movie called Rambo, and when he talked about it, he said that he knew what audiences liked seeing from him and he was willing to give it to them.
It's a new concept.
En 2010, Stallone réunit un casting extraordinaire pour Expendable, unité spéciale.
We get back to simplicity, and then in the end, it builds to this symphony of violence that is really epic. Come on, let's get out of here.
Though his movies are full of testosterone, in his home life, Sylvester is surrounded by women. He has his wife, he has 3 daughters, and they even have a female dog. And when it comes to his daughters dating, he says he's quite the protective father, and he doesn't want any guys taking out his girls ever. And he actually joked about dressing up as Rambo when the guys come to the house, so they'll know to stay in line.
Sylvester Stallone est aujourd'hui un homme heureux qui est bien conscient de ses forces et de ses faiblesses.
I'm very happy about many things I've done because a lot of it maybe wasn't taken as seriously as I hoped, but I ventured out and I tried certain things, and the one thing I go to my grave saying that I experimented. I think if you give the audience what they want, therefore they'll always be with you. I'll never be able to do an opera. I'll never play just comedy again, and I think to do Shakespeare would be occupational suicide. I'd rather do something I love badly than to feel bad about not doing something I love. What you lack in skill, you can make up in will.